just develop the colour just a fraction more by putting in some slightly stronger washes onto the actual bottle shape. There's all sorts of lights and darks going on in the glass here. I'll just leave those in for a minute. Remember that wherever you want it very, very light, you have to leave the light of the paper. It will actually add interest. As you develop the painting. So just consciously leave it, leave some of it white for the time being. Use the tip of your brush to draw those really fine shapes. Remember that you're using your brush as a drawing tool. And that's, its value, because it's a good brush. Then bring it back down over here, over the shape of the bottle. Now some of these tones and colours or colours have to actually follow the bottle shape around. Across here and the bottom here, which I will bring up in a minute. I have to remember to leave that base of the bottle so we can actually see through the glass, actually seeing the shape of the base. And just consciously leave it for now. And bring this down here. It's a little bit more dark on the top left shoulder of this bottle. Now what I'm noticing is that because the area around the bottle is still very wet, it's just bleeding a tiny fraction, so I'm just going to just carefully lift that off with my paper towel. And at this point I probably will go back to these nectarines and just redefine the darkness of the cast shadow under the fruit. So I'm going to use a bit of blue and a bit of burnt sienna. So where the light can't actually get to the fruit, it's very, very dark under there. I look forward to going quite dark with the cast shadow, even at this stage. And then perhaps feather in a lighter one. I'm just doing this water now because I want to soften it at this point. Where the two shadows merge on that bit of wall. And they'll go down over the top of it as well. And again, I'm going to darken this bit under here. It's actually very, very dark at that point, right the way up to the edge of the fruit. Now, I haven't developed the tone on the fruit yet, but the tone of the bottom of the fruit here will also be much darker than I've done it. So just let this dry a bit further before I go into that. And you'll find as this dries, it's all going to dry much lighter anyway. Got some green there, so it's extraordinary, isn't it? And that's probably all right for a minute, and I'm going to leave that to dry up a bit. This other car shadow at the back here, this also needs to be considered before we stop. So I'm going to put some green in over the top of the colour shadow. I'm going to use the brighter green because it's making a really sharp bluey green kind of car shadow. And then I'm going to consider this inside bit. So inside the bottle is going to have some red because that's the complement of green, and it will act as a means of darkening this car shadow area, and the base of the bottle will make it go darker. Although it seems a funny choice, that's the thing to do at this point. And I'm going to add green to it as well. This will all go darker in due course. Let's let it dry and then I'll come back to it and develop it. Just going to define this too much. I'm going to leave that bright colours at the moment and turn it upside down so it doesn't run back on itself. And that's probably sufficient for the time being. I might actually add a bit more colour onto this before we stop, but we're nearly there with the weight of colour. This could also go darker. I think that needs to be a slightly darker grey than I've got here, so I'm just going to add a bit in. Yeah. So this colour here, which is the window frame, is going to make that a little bit darker than I have. Again, it'll probably all dry much, much lighter as we build painting up. So all these things are relative at this stage. It's just an indication of what's going to go in there. Right. Turn it around once more. See, this is not quite dry yet. I have to just refine it when it's a bit drier. But before we stop, I'm going to just put some more colour onto this a green bottle. So I'm just adding in some of the darker tones now, just to give us more of a sense of its volume. And a little bit here. Just to show the edge of the bottle. Now push it in a bit more clearly. Bring that down. And across here. It merges into the base here as well. It'll go over that red in due course and make that darker. But we'll leave that for a second. And just bring this across in here. The only place that I'm going to really let it remain white is on this top right hand shoulder, because that's where the light is really hitting it in particular. And just bring it down the neck of the bottle and across here. This down here. So these other shapes that I painted initially are showing through, which is what I want in the little shape. And finally, let's bring it across here and down the bottom. Again, I'm going to go over that green shape.